Welcome all. Today we are going to discuss about the transportation planning in urban transport systems planning process. Generally, transportation planning is 3C concept. One is coordinative, continuous and comprehensive. In coordinative, we need to coordinate all the things with all the transport officials and organizations and public. We need to coordinate according to the requirement. We need to go for the planning process. What is their demand, how the existing supply is there, either it is the feasible or not, either it is providing the sufficient and efficient transportation systems or not will be identified. After that one we will go for the kind of planning process. And coming to the planning process, it's a continuous process. Once planning itself, our task won't be completed. After the planning, we need to take care about the implementation. After implementation, and we need to take care about the operations also. During the operations time only, we can know the what are the drawbacks are there, what are the merits and demerits of this one. If any such type of the demerits are there, how to overcome that demerits will be identified by evaluating various alternatives. After this one, again we will go for the recommendations in environmental point of view or in public point of view. What are the recommendations are there, all these recommendations will be considered, and again it will go for the planning process. Like this one, transportation planning process is a continuous, it's a cyclic manner as we discussed in earlier sessions. And comprehensive, it should be comprehensive manner we need to plan. And second point criteria we need to consider is type and intensity of the land use. In earlier session we discussed about the various land uses. Once land use means it will impact on the trips. Based upon the type of activity of land use, the number of trips may vary. If for example, if land use using for commercial purpose, due to the trade and etc., more number of the trips will be attracted towards that direction. Or maybe if you are using for residential purpose, morning time or evening time or maybe groceries purpose only, the trips may be generated. Or if you are creating or if you are using for the recreational purpose the land use, more number of the trips may be generated towards that direction. Like this, based upon the type of use of land use or type of the activity, the trips may vary. All those trips will be considerable, and by considering these trips only we can go for the demand modeling. And transportation planning majorly depends on 4-stage modeling sequential approach. Those are the trip generation, trip distribution, mode split, route assignment or trip assignment. These 4 stages will create the transportation planning process. Coming to the planning process, during this development of the transportation planning process, there are certain assumptions. Those are travel patterns are tangible, stable and predictable. What are the travels are generating? Our travel patterns are can be, our assumption is all these travel patterns are predictable. That means from which place to which place these are moving, these trips are moving, can be, we can identify or we can predict the nature. And movement demands are directly related to the distribution and intensity of the land use. In earlier slides we discussed about the various activities of land usages. Based upon the land uses, the trips will be attracted. That means from other zones the trips will be distributed based upon the intensity of the land usage of other zones, which can be accurately determined for some future data. Based upon this only we can go for the prediction of some future data. And a decisive relationship exists between all modes of the transport, and future role of a mode cannot be determined without giving consideration to all other modes. Generally, from all the modes, in between all the modes of the transportation, there is a decisive relationship is there, and future role of mode cannot be determined. That means in future what is the type of the mode they may be chosen, it cannot be determined without giving consideration to all other modes. And the transportation system influences the development of an area as well as serving that area. In earlier sessions we discussed about this one also. The transportation system influences the development of an area because of once the transportation developed, automatically the surrounding areas will be developed. So in the particular area development starts taking place. In addition to that one, the transportation system will serve to that particular area, for movement of the persons, movement of the goods, etc. it will serve. And next assumption is areas of continuous urbanization needs region-wide consideration of transport situation. And due to this continuous urbanization in regional level, we need to consider the transportation situation. What is the type of the transportation system it is available, whether it is sufficient or not, like that we need to consider the wide consideration of transportation situation. And transportation study is an integral part of the overall planning process. And whatever the transportation study we are taking, that should be considered as the integral part of the entire development planning process. We should not be isolate, or we should not be treated as the unique one or separate one. Transportation along with the zonal development plans or area development, along with that one transportation development also will be considerable. And transportation planning process is a continuous, coordinated and comprehensive, as we discussed in the earlier slide. It is a 3C concept, and these are the major problems when we are going for the planning process. These are the major problems we are getting, particularly in area. First one is congestion. Always we are facing the situation in urban areas, particularly during the peak hours it will more effective. Due to the rapid urbanization, majority of the persons are moving towards the urban area due to their needs. Either they may be employment purpose, or that may be job purpose, or maybe other purposes like groceries or movement of the persons from rural area, like that one. Due to this rapid urbanization, to fulfill the requirement of this one, public transportation systems are not at all sufficient. In this regard, majority of the persons are moving by private transport systems. Due to this private transport systems, the number of vehicles are increasing day by day, and as the number of vehicles are increasing, the road geometric parameters are not increasing in that level. So it is leading to the congestion in the urban roads. And next one, supply and demand gap. This is also one of the major problem. What is the present existing supply is there, like transportation systems, either bus system or private IPT modes like auto rickshaws and etc. These existing transportation systems are not at all sufficient for the present demand. There is the deficit between the demand and supply. So that filling of the gap is also one of the major problem. And next one is the level of service. As due to the rapid urbanization and rapid growth of the population in urban areas, majority of the persons are moving by their own vehicles, that means private vehicles. During this one, the level of service also reducing. As per the capacity manual, HCM 2000 and Indian capacity manuals, the level of services are classified into different categories. If level of service A is there, in that one we can go at higher speeds due to the less number of the traffics. Such type of the conditions are, more number of vehicles are there, we are forced to reduce our vehicle speeds, we need to go slowly. So that is also one of the major problem going to impact. And next one is mobility. Movement of the vehicle is going to become a major challenge in urban areas due to this large quantity of the vehicles or traffic. That's why we need to provide the equal ability to travel. That means in public transport systems everyone have the equal ability to travel and equal access to travel also. For all the zones we need to provide the equal access. And ancillary impacts like accidents, energy consumption, land consumption, environmental impacts, all these are going to be a major problems in urban transportation planning process. If you observe, this is the systems approach to transport planning. How we need to go for the implementation of any or what are the stages in this one. First, we will start with the problem definition and formulation of the goals. When we are starting the planning process, we need to identify the problem and we need to define the problem clearly. What is the problem we are going to face? For that one, how we need to go for the remedial, like formation of the goals. These two should be very in claritative manner. We need to identify what is the problem happening, for fulfilling of that one what is the remedial action, for that one what type of the goals we need to formulate. Once we identify the problem definition or after goals formation, then we will start thinking about the solution. For example, in a city we identified that public transportation systems are not at all sufficient and it is leading to the congestion. If that is the problem, for fulfilling of that problem, what are the actions or solution is there, we need to think, and from that one we will generate the different solutions. Single solution is not at all recommendable. Every time we need to create or we need to think about the different type of the solutions. Out of that one, once various alternatives are generated, we will go for the evaluation of the alternatives or solutions. By making of one solution, by implementing of this one, what are the merits may be there and what are the demerits are going to be there. Like this one, for each solution we will identify the different or we will do the different analysis. That is called as evaluation of alternatives, a solution analysis. This is the third stage. Once the solution analysis also completed, then we will go for the evaluation of possible alternative and choice. For example, for a resolution of the one problem, if we identified either 4 or 5 solutions, out of these 5 solutions, which one will give the best possible result will be identified. In an environmental point of view, in economic point of view, by considering the B by C ratio, benefit cost ratio, we will identify that one. Based on this analysis, we will go for the choosing of the best alternative or possible alternative will be identified. Once the possible alternative identified, then we will go for the implementation of the alternative. What is the alternative we are identifying? That we will go for the implementation. By implementing of this one, these are the merits will be happen and the less number of the demerits may be happen. Like this, after convinced, then we will go for the implementation. As we discussed, once the solution implementation itself, our job won't be completed. Once if we implemented any solution, then we need to go for the operational analysis. That means it will be open to it will bring into the function. Okay. like allowing the traffic, like that one we will go for the operation point of view. Once the solution came into the operation, then again we will go for the performance assessment. How the solution giving the best results will be evaluated or assessed. If it is good performing, and if it is going for the good result, giving the good results, then no problem. Or maybe if any alternatives or any recommendations came, then the recommendations again will be considerable to the problem definition, and again to fulfill up that recommendation, again we will go for the formulation of the goals. So if you observe here, as we discussed, transportation system planning is the continuous planning process. It's a continuous planning process. In a cyclic manner, it will be considerable. And coming to the continuous urban transportation planning process, whatever I shown in this one is clearly elaborated here. First, we will go for the formulation of the goals and objectives, like organization and inventory point of view. We will collect that one. Organization development, what are the policies are there, and what are the technical possibilities are there, will be identified. And citizen participation in the form of collecting data, like a population, how much population is there, by using the census or by conducting the various surveys in the particular zone or particular study area, how much population are living will be identified, and what are the different types of the economic activities are going on in the particular identified study area, and what is the type of the land usage is there, or in future how the land usage is going to be impact or going to be affected will be considered, and existing transportation systems, what are there, either it is sufficient or comfortable to the present existing demand will be identified, and how the travel patterns are will be identified. Next, terminal and transfer facilities, and what are the traffic control features are available, like signals are there, either signals to be modified or signals to be upgraded, or maybe AI based signals need to be implemented, like that one we need to identify traffic control features. And laws and ordinance, like what are the rules to be followed by the public, if any rule violations are there, what is the laws are there, any economical will be there, and any fines or etc. to be implemented, like that one by making of ordinance we will identify, and financial resources available for implementation of the project, or by implementing of this project what is the benefit cost ratio will be identified, and community values also will be considered. Based upon that one, immediate action plan will be decided. And it is the continuous process. Once the goals and objectives are framed, we will go for the inventories. After the identification of the inventories, then we will go for the analysis. Analysis will be done by using the calibrate models, land use, trip generation, trip distribution, mode split, and trip assignment. By using of this process, we will go for the analysis, and during this analysis process, we will go for the area wide forecasting data. That means after 15 years or after 20 years, by considering the long range elements, after 20 years how the population going to be increased, how the land use going to be increased, and what are the impact of the economic levels in after 20 years, what are the travel patterns, and what are the revenues we may get after 20 years will be forecasted by using of various methods. Once the analysis completed and forecasting also completed, then we will go for the analysis of future alternative systems, like various alternative models to be developed in land use point of view, in trip generation, trip distribution, mode split, and trip assignment point of view. We will design the future traffic and future plans. After that one, we will go for the testing of the plan and evaluation, like evaluation of the various alternatives, and we will go for the selection of one alternative. Once the alternative is selected, we will go for the plan implementation. What is the recommended one from the after completion of analysis, that will be implemented. After implementation, already I told, it's by implementation itself our job won't be completed, it's continuous process. For that one, we need to monitor the plan, whatever the plan implemented, by means of the surveillance or reappraisal or procedural development in service point of view. By considering the annual report, we will go for the continuous assessment. Once this continuous assessment is happened, the same information will be again will be sent to the formulation of the goals and objectives. So it is the continuous planning process. And coming to the stages in transportation planning, first one is survey and analysis of existing conditions. For that one, in goal setting to be in view of the relevant in social point of view, legal, aesthetic, political, economic, and technical considerations point of view, only we need to frame the goals. By considering the local parameters of all these things, we will go for the goal setting. Once goal setting completed, we will define the study area, and the study area will be divided into the smaller parts. Those are divisions of the same. To make the work easier, we will divide into the smaller parts, like that will be called as zones. From each zone, we will collect the existing data facilities, existing data, that is called as inventory of the existing facilities. That is inventory of existing travel patterns, already existing travel patterns, how they are, how many number of trips are generating, how the trips are moving from one place to another place, all these things will be identified. And inventory of existing transport facilities, what are the types of the quantitative point of view and qualitative point of view, we will collect the data in respect to the transport facilities. Once that one completed, we will go for the inventory of the land use and economic activities in the particular study area or in the particular zone. What is the land uses going on present and what are the type of the economic activities are going in the present zones will be identified. Once that was completed, our assumption, all these travel pattern, land use and economic activities and transport facilities, these three are interdependent. On each one it will be dependent. For example, if transport facilities are there, if proper transport facilities are there, from the transport facilities the number of travel patterns will be happen. As the trips are generating or transportation developed, as we discussed, that once the transportation developed, then automatically the surrounding areas will be developed. So surrounding areas means land usage is going to be increased and economic activities also increases. As land use increases, automatically economic activities will be increased. To fulfill this requirement, land usage and economic activities, for fulfillment of this one, we need to depend on the transport facilities. So if you observe, it is the cyclic process and on among it is dependent. In reverse order also, once land use and economic activities are developed, to fulfill that one, it has to be depend on the travel pattern. For fulfilling of the travel pattern, we need to provide the transport facilities. Once transport facilities are provided, automatically the land use and economic activities will be developed. Like this one, all these are the interdependent. If you observe this one, all these are the interdependent. Like this, as I explained, all these are the interdependent one among each other. Okay. This is called as the analysis for determination of the quantifiable interrelationship. That is the and land usage and it is on transport cycle. First, if you consider the land use, once the land usage is developed, the trips will be generated. For example, if any industry established, for in industry for work purpose, the majority of the persons or the employees, maybe workers, will move towards the direction. That means trips were generating. Once the trips were generating, for them transportation required. Due to these trips, the transportation need came into the picture. For fulfilling of the transportation needs, we need to provide the transportation facilities like either bus or any train. Like that one, we need to provide various alternative transportation facilities. Once for provision of the transportation facilities, and what are the type of the transportation facility we are providing, that should be accessible to the persons. So accessibility is impacting. Once the accessibility is coming, that means continuously we are accessing the public transportation system or any transportation system, immediately the surrounding land will be the land value will be increases, because if any development is taking place, majority of the persons wants to move towards the direction, and maybe some persons will purchase the land and they will go for the establishing of various alternatives, either residential purpose or maybe recreational purpose or maybe maybe this one commercial purpose, it will be developed. Okay. So automatically the land value increases. Once land value going to increase, again land usage again increases. Like this one, it will be continuously, it's a cyclic process, again and again. Like this one, it will moves on cyclic process. So this is the one, it is the land use and transportation cycle, it will be called as. And what are the land use factors going to affect the transportation? The features of the land use that are prominent in affecting how people use transportation are as follows. That one is land use density. How many persons are living in the particular area, or how many number of jobs are there per acre, will define the land use density in the particular zone or particular study area. And land use mix, this is measured by the extent to which related to land use, for which purpose we are going to use this land, either housing purpose, that is residential purpose, or commercial purpose, or retail purpose, or institutional purpose. We are using this land use will be identified and are located together and easily accessible to each other. This is sometimes measured in terms of the job per housing balance ratio of jobs to residents in an area. That means it will be measured in terms of the number of jobs per each house. In that manner, they will consider the land use mix. After that one, we will go for the regional accessibility. Location of development related to regional centers, like number of jobs accessible within the certain travel time, that is regional accessibility. Centeredness, that means as we know CBD areas are there, most of the business will be generated there, that means congested area also will be formed. In CBDs only employment will be generated, commercial trading will be generated. Like this one, all majority of the activities will be placed or will be done in the centered portion only, that is on centeredness. Site design, building and public spaces design, the layout and design of the buildings and parking facilities, scale and details of the building, street amenities and design will be identified. In general, places with low density and segregated land use can only be effectively served by private automobile travel. That means wherever the low density is going on, that means less number of the people are living in that area, or maybe segregated land use. Here after certain distances and density is less, then it will be effectively served by private transport, because public transport in that case, that means wherever the low density is there, in that case public transportation provision may not give the good result. Okay, in a economic point of view it may not provide the good results. That's why only in these areas wherever the less density is there, in that areas the transportation system served by private automobiles. Conversely, a place that has the higher density, mixed land use, good site design, street designs that support walking and connected street network is one that is well suited to be served effectively by transit. Okay, wherever the maximum density is there, that means high density is there, mixed land use is there, that means automobiles, recreational purpose, employment purpose, school education purpose, like this one, or any markets are there, like this one. If mixed usage is there, more persons will come towards that direction, so more number of the persons will travel by the public transport. In economic point of view, it will be efficient. So in wherever the maximum density of land usage is there, in that area public transportation systems can be served. And land use variables influencing the travel demand varies. Nature of the land use, already I told number of times. Nature of land use, what is the type of the usage of nature? Either you are using for a household purpose or commercial purpose, recreational purpose or education purpose, it will impact on the travel demand. If it is housing purpose, only less demand will be there. If it is commercial areas like CBD areas, it requires more demand. And intensity and extent of land use. Example, nature of the land use refers to the type of land use such as either industry, commercial, etc. Intensify refers to the degree of activity. Example, in a zone 50 theatres having more intensity than a zone having 20 theatres, through both of them are recreational. For example, in a study area, take the example of, it is the study area. In this one 50 theatres are there, and same size of the study area, only 20 theatres are there. In two cases, in 20 theatres means approximately each theatre may contain per day 100 numbers. Assume 20 into 100, 2000 trips may be generated. If 50 theatres are there, 5000 trips may be generated in that particular area. So even both are recreational, there is the difference between these things. Like both are recreational purpose, in which zone more number of the theatres are there, it will attract more number of the public transport systems. And based on the intensity also, for educational trips, attracted a zone having 10 colleges and 5 high schools will be obviously more than those directed towards a zone having 5 colleges and 5 high schools. If colleges are more number of the persons will come for educational purpose, so it will attract more persons. So zone density will also increases. Okay. Thank you.